Hey guys, it's the Unsmooth Criminal, and I'm here back with a one that you're probably not going to be too energetic for because there's no Nico. Sorry, there's going to be one female, but that female is going to be in like canon. Everything pretty much is like canon except for one feature on the main character. The main character's name, you've probably already seen it by the title, is Belle. If you guys haven't seen the anime, Belle or Don Manchi, or Is It Wrong to Pick Up Girls in a Dungeon? Plenty spoilers ahead, so I suggest you click off this video and go watch it, then come back. Now that I got that out of the way, it is my favorite anime out of all time. Except for the Naruto and Pain fight. That's my favorite scene out of anime all time. So we go to Belle. Yeah, we go to Belle getting attacked by the Minotaur. And again, it's gonna have a lot of spoilers in this video. So, if you don't want spoilers, click off the video. He's being attacked by the Minotaur, and everything happens to canon in that when he gets Realis Phrase from this incident. But what the god did not see is another skill on top of that. He gained it after he accidentally swallowed some of the Minotaur blood, which kind of fused with him a little. She didn't see the new skill right underneath it. Hi, Leo. And the new skill is called blacklight. And this skill, we'll get into later, but Belle goes back to the dungeon. And he's going to the dungeon every day for around a week, and then he meets Seer. She does the same thing of, why don't you come back later and repay me for the food? And he goes, okay. So we go to that night when he's being updated by Hestia, and his stats increase from roughly 10, 20-ish, all the way up to 100. I know that in the normal anime, he didn't get that much of an increase, but the black... Ah, crap! My cat just jumped on me. Ow. It's not nice jumping on random people, Leo. But he has the other skill, blacklight. So we go to Hestia storms off again because of the stupid skill that gives him a power boost. And she finally noticed that new skill, and she wanted to go talk to the other gods about it, see if anybody's seen it. So she goes off, and instead of whining about how he likes some other girl, he goes to Uranus. If no one knows who Uranus is the supreme deity for Earth. That they all answer to him if they use their powers incorrectly or use them at any point that is not allowed. So, she walks up to him and asks, what is this skill called blacklight? And he's in touch with all the Familia members to write down and bookmark all the new skills. And he goes, what? And her hearing him saying what to a simple question that he should know the answer to, she gets worried. So they're discussing stuff, and we go to Belle arriving back at the tavern. And he walks in after Seer invites him in, and she goes, "Ah, you made it." And he goes, "Yeah, So, Mamma Mia, you guys should see the How to Be an Adventurer. It's freaking hilarious, by the way. But Mamma Mia slams food in front of him, saying, "Eat." And he's like, "I can't pay for all this." And she goes, "It's free." And he's like, "What?" And she goes, "Yeah, it's free. Now eat so you can get stronger and become a better adventurer." And he goes, "Okay." So he starts eating. She said the food was free, not his drinks. Because I have to get him to go back. But he said the food was free, or she said the food was free. And he goes, "Okay, I'll still pay for the drinks." And she goes, "That's fine. I was going to charge you for the drinks anyway." And he goes, "Okay." And the Loki Familia walks in. And Eyes Wallenstein doesn't recognize him because he changed his clothes. When he's in the dungeon, he has the normal Belle Cornell clothes. But when he's outside of the dungeon, he has clothes like you see in the picture. But that's soon going to change. Very, very soon. Okay. So we go to Bet talking about how a tomato freak was running away from Eyes because she saved his ass. And he's laughing his ass off, and Belle is getting angrier and angrier that he's insignificant, worthless, and downright just petty compared to Bet and everybody else there. And Eyes and the elf girl, I forget her name, I'll have to look that up, both defend Belle. And Belle's just getting angry and angrier at himself that she has to save him again. So this is gonna get good. So he runs off, and his newfound agility, he runs at max speed. But he just ate fish. So his blacklight skill activates. He used the extra biomass he gets from consuming meat to increase his physical abilities. And the extra metals and minerals in the meat that he eats transfer to weapons. Because he doesn't have his knife, he doesn't have any weapons on him, but he runs into the dungeon at breakneck speeds. And without thinking about it, he creates a hammer out of his fist with the blacklight skill and punches something. And he sees this and he's like, "What the hell?" And he thinks about a hammer on both fists, and he starts punching the monsters, crushing them. But this time, when he crushes them, the blacklight goes out, grabs the monster, and pulls it in. And then a gem pops out. The magic gem from inside the monsters. And he's like, "What the hell?" So he's like, oh well. He stays there all night again. But when he gets back to Hestia, he's perfectly unscathed. His clothes are completely ripped to shreds, but he's perfectly unscathed. And she sees this and asks where he's been, and he goes, "I was in the dungeon. Apparently I have a new skill." And she goes, "What? Really?" And he goes, "Yeah." And he makes a fist, and he goes, "Apparently I can make myself weapons." And she goes, "What?" And he goes, "Yeah." And then he makes himself claws. He makes a fist, which makes a hammer, and then makes claws when he opens his hand up. And he says, "That's all I could do with the skills so far. I don't know how good it is or what it can do in the future, but that's all I can do for right this second. And she goes, okay, that's strange, but let's eat. And she pulls out pot potatoes. No, pot potatoes are black clover. The potato croquettes. She pulls out the potato croquettes and he goes, "Thank you." And she goes, uh hey, oh, fucking God. She goes, "You're welcome." And she goes, "Let's update your score. Your um your your experience. Let's update your stats." I'm just gonna call it stats. I'm not gonna call it the real name of it. Sorry, I can't. And he goes, "Okay." And she sees the growth from his skills being H to B's and C's. So I'm gonna make a separate video on top of this to explain the experience. It's gonna probably come out tomorrow. Yeah, it's probably gonna come out tomorrow. So she sees this huge jump and she's like, maybe I could give him a little push, like in the canon show. And so she gives him the canon speech of how this could be a growth spurt and how this could also be affected by a skill called blacklight that you gained. And apparently it's that skill that you used earlier. And he goes, "Why?" And she goes, "That's your only skill." And he's like, "What?" And she goes, "Yeah." And he sees that there's something underneath it, and he goes, "What is this?" And she goes, my hand probably slipped. And she's just playing it off like she doesn't know. But she knows it's Realis phrase, and she knows all the backstory about it. So he's like, "Okay, well, I'm going back to the dungeon to see if I can get any more." And she goes, "Okay." And so she goes to work. Okay. She goes to work. And Belle goes to Anna to try to get cleared for the lower floors. Because he's still only on like floor 5. And Anna reluctantly agrees after he showed her the skill in private. And she goes, "I request you get a supporter." And he goes, "Okay, I'll look for one." And that's when he runs into Lili Ruka Ard. And I'm giving her a skill on top of this called Contract. On top of her skills already, I'm giving her a skill called Contract. And I'll explain it later. So Lili, they go through the cannon, except for Lili does not try to take Belle's weapon. Because Belle never got a weapon from Hestia, because the beast wasn't released. Because Freya, as they say in the show, has not seen Belle yet. So he's just going through the dungeon, and it's now the Beast Festival. And Freya, at this time, has seen Belle, and she's like, maybe I could have a little fun. And Loki and Freya start colluding to get Freya near Belle, and Belle is just completely blind to the fact that there's multiple goddesses after him. And so he runs into Eyes Wallenstein because Eyes is not protecting Loki. Bet is. He begrudgingly did. Belle is now talking to Eyes Wallenstein. And he sees Hestia and goes, "Oh, Hestia, hey." And she goes, "Oh, am I interrupting something?" And Eyes, seeing what Belle might do, or knowing what Belle might do, goes, "No." And she goes, "Okay." And she starts walking with them, getting to know Eyes and getting to know what Belle's feelings on Eyes is, because they're talking like friends. He hands Seer her purse because he found her easily, and he doesn't know how, he just did. And he's leaving the area when the silverback monkey thing, the silverback ape, I think it was called, is released by Freya. And Eyes was about to go do it, but it was already cut in half. And Belle, by this point, because it's been a few weeks now, and I'm making him level up a little slower. It's been a few weeks now, because Freya's found him 2 weeks ago, and it's been 2 weeks, or a week since he found Lili, and been a week since it's the first Minotaur attack. Has her number one fighter, the level 10 in her familia, down in the dungeon trying to train a Minotaur to attack Belle. Like in canon. And Belle is unknowing of this, and everybody sees this and goes, or sees him messing with the Minotaurs, and like, we better not mess with him. So we go to the next day after the Beast Festival, and the Loki and the Loki and Hephaestus familia are getting ready that day to go down to the dungeon. But some little white-haired adventurer went down with a brown-haired little Prume, and her skill Contract is active. And this skill is very strange, but it's a binding skill that says whenever someone in the contract is dead, is killed, or seriously injured, the supporter or the helping person in the group gains the strength to carry them either away or speed to get away so they can survive, or just gains their experience when they die so they can get away. But it lasts for 24 hours and then it stops. So it's an insurance policy for Lili to run away when she betrays somebody. And it's not called just contract, it's called thieves' contract. So, but she just calls it contract. So Belle just thinks it's called contract, and he gets injured by the Minotaur because they're still down in the dungeon, and she gains the speed boost. So when Belle's about to be hit by the Minotaur, she speeds by him and pulls him to the side and says, be careful. And her backpack was still caught by the Minotaur charge and was ripped off of her, so she was severely hit in the head by one of the magic items she has in her bag. And she is passed out after she runs a little bit, and she's passed out on the ground. And Finn, the elf girl, the two Amazons, Eyes, and Bet find her with the trail of a little blood behind her. And Bet's like, oh god. So the Minotaur is that way, apparently. And Eyes recognizes Lili a little, and she goes, "You're the Prune that I saw with Belle." And she asks, or the elf girl asks Eyes, "Who and who?" And she goes, "That's the Prune that I saw with Belle at the festival." And she goes, "Oh, hmm, okay. So what now?" And she goes, "Hmm, I think Belle may be in trouble. I'll be back." And she runs off, and she's a little more social in this one. And she ran off to Belle and saw Belle being injured, and she says, "It's okay. I'll help you now." And he goes, "Fuck off. I'm not gonna fucking goddamn be rescued by the goddamn one I have a goddamn crush on." And he yells this out loud without thinking. And her face goes a tiny bit red. Just a tiny bit. And she starts going, "What?" And he goes, "Just screw off. Let me handle this." And he brings out the big sword from Prototype without noticing. And if you guys haven't noticed the name Blacklight, it's the Blacklight virus. So, yeah, if you guys didn't read the title and you just saw What If Belle, yeah, read the title. Please read the title. It'll give you a idea of what's going on in the story. Well, not really my stories. Yeah, not really my stories. But so he brings out this sword on his right arm. And when you think of this sword, you think of, oh, a great sword, like in Prototype. No, 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 no. His arms start getting covered in this armor that looks fleshy, and he gets a sword like the sword behind her. So his elbow's at the little inlay on the blade. If you don't know what an inlay is, it's the cut into the blade where there's an extra little slot. That's an inlay. It looks like that. So his clothes are being covered by this fleshy armor, and Bet runs up, seeing this monster. He's like, "What the hell is a monster doing?" And she goes, "No, that's not a monster. That knight-looking thing with the sword for a hand, that's Belle." She said this, and he goes, "What? That tomato dumbass?" And he starts laughing, and Lili was being carried by the elf girl. God damn it, I need to know her name. If you guys know her name, put it in the comments and put a way to say it for me to say it. Because I'm American. I'm a dumbass when it comes to other languages. But Lili is being carried by the elf girl, and the elf girl puts Lili down and starts healing her. And in Bet's terms, you can burn a level 1 spell slot, you stingy bitch. In his terms. So, they just see this monster, because he has a helmet on now. He has his whole entire body is like in the Ebony Warrior's armor from Skyrim. If you guys have seen that armor, that's what his armor looks like. But his sword is massive. And the Minotaur starts running at him. And he lifts his arm. And the Minotaur comes near him, and Bet's like, "God damn it, is this dumbass?" And he cuts through the Minotaur. Clean through. And Bet's like, what the hell? And he lost his mind then. And his eyes are red. Because he's full of anger at himself. And he turns to Bet and he says, "Fight me." And he's pointing it, and his arms change from just a gloved gauntlet arm to hammers. And Bet goes, "Yeah, hell no." And Lili wakes up and goes, "Belle?" And he goes, shit. Hold on, what? You did a new fanfic? I need to put that. Ooh, thank you for subscribing. Whoever you were, Viper something. Thank you for subbing. Hopefully you enjoy this. If you're watching this far into the video. But he sees Lili and sees that she's fine now. And that's when the Minotaur horn drops and he's like, oh, I can rest. And he calms down. The next thing that happens is he passes out standing up. And all the black light returns to his body, including the body of the Minotaur with the crystal on the floor. And they see this and they're like, what the hell just happened? And so Lili picks up Belle starts picking up Belle and says that the contract is being fulfilled. Time for me to reap the benefits and help Belle. And the elf looks at her and goes, what's the name of the contract? And she goes, contract? And she goes, there's two kinds of contracts. There's the mercenary contract, which we all know what that one does. Don't you guys? And I just nods, being like, yeah, I've dealt with one of them. And she goes, then there's the thief contract. And since you're not a fighter, because you ran away, I'm guessing you have the thief contract. And she's starting to sweat, because there's only one person allowed to have the thief contract at once. And she goes, would your name happen to be Lili Ruka Ard? And she just goes, yeah, And she goes, are you trying to get out of the Soma Familia? And she just nods her head really quickly and she goes, we can help with that. And she perks up to this going, what? And Bet goes, hell yeah. That asshole of a first person for the friggin' Familia, whatever the hell it's called. And Finn goes, the right-hand man to the god or goddess of the Familia. And Bet goes, yeah, that asshole for Soma. He's taken the entire Familia for himself. And Lili goes, yeah, he has. What are you guys gonna do? And they go, what we can do. And Belle gets back to the church, and when he wakes up, he has the Minotaur horn. And Hestia, it's been like 2 days, Hestia is worried, so she runs over and checks his stats. Under his ability stats, he gained the Hero Shot ability, Argonaut. And under his stats is a new category, soulbound item. If anybody knows the soulbound sword, bow, and great axe from Skyrim, that's what it is. But she found this as soulbound, and she's like, what the hell? And so she starts to read what this thing does, and she sees that it's the soulbound warhammers. And she's like, okay. Then it says soulbound armor. And she's like, oh god, this is gonna get bad. Soulbound greatsword, soulbound claws, and soulbound whip. And it says soulbound blacklight whip, soulbound blacklight warhammers, and it says blacklight after. And she's like, what the hell? I know there's 5 weapons in prototype. I don't remember all of them. I know the hammer's my favorite. Greatsword, claws, and the whip thing. I don't remember the last one. So if you guys know all the weapons from Prototype, please put it in the comments. I'd love to hear what the weapons are. And remind myself, maybe I might play the game. But, so, she sees this and goes, well, you have a new ability. And he goes, what? And she goes, well, technically you have two. Your blacklight is gone, which is a bummer, but you have soulbound. That's an ability you have now, and it adds a new category to your ability, or your magic. And he goes, I have magic? And she goes, sort of. This is a weird magic. I'm going to need permission from Uranus to explore it, and maybe have Hephaestus help me with it. But apparently you have soulbound weapons. And he goes, oh yeah. And he pulls out the greatsword. And he goes, like this? And he puts it away. And she goes, yeah, like that. And you have soulbound armor. So, and he goes, ooh, so this. And he pops the armor out and puts it away. And she goes, yeah. So you're also level 2. And he goes, what? And she goes, yeah, I suggest you get another person for your party, though. And she looks at Lili, and Lily's just looking down because the thieving did happen, but she couldn't steal anything from him because he didn't have anything to steal. So she went to his church and stole his money from there. But they're still rolling in the thousands of Valis that they did originally. So who else? One day, Belle is walking towards the dungeon to go solo raiding because he just wants to get experience and level up this day. And he's like, maybe I could make a quick buck because Lily's currently on exhibition because something happened at the boarding home. So he walks into the dungeon and he hears someone yelling about them dropping him from the party at the last minute when they're about to go into the middle floors to gather materials and he would craft them a weapon. And he walks over and be like, what's going on? And this man is just storming off, and he stops the man asking what's going on and if he could help. And this man says, well, I'm Welf Crozzo, and I made weapons for those assholes, and they just kicked me out of the party before we even get into the dungeon. I'd have made them more if we got more materials so I could level up my blacksmithing skill, but they didn't allow me in. So, and he goes, well, I could be your party member. And he goes, what, really? And he goes, yeah. One condition, though. And he goes, yeah. You're going to have to help me think of a new weapon. And he goes, what do you mean? Or, what do you mean? And he goes, well, I have this. And he pops the greatsword, pops the hammer, pops the claws, and forms the whip. And he goes, I have those, but if something happens that I can't use those, I'll need a weapon that I could use. And he goes, okay. And he sees the Minotaur horn that Belle currently has at his side, because Belle's been using the Minotaur horn as a ramming horn when he goes into the dungeon. And he's been using the horn, and since his blacklight virus can manipulate metal and objects around him, he's shredded the horn and put the two horns, because it's a biological product from a creature. Oh, crap. And with that, that's how Welf Crozzo got added to the team. Because I love Welf. He's a friggin' great sword wielder. Next thing we do. is the middle floors. So they go down that door that day, and Belle's like, let's go to floor 10. And he goes, are you sure? And he goes, yeah, I've only been to floor 9, but I could be on floor 10 that I haven't fought yet. And he goes, okay. So Belle gets to floor 10, or no, 11, 12, and 13 are the tree floors. So he gets to level 11 with Welf. And then he's like, why don't we go to 12? So Welf and Belle go to 12. And Belle is absolutely shredding them with the claws. He prefers the claws over the great sword, the hammers, or the whips. Right now, at least. So then the dragon comes by. And remember when I said that the ape was split in half before anybody can notice? Well, Belle learned how to precision cut things with a thin whip from his blacklight virus. But he can only do it every once in a while because it takes absolute concentration. And he was in the heat of the moment and he did it, and then he learned how to do it with absolute concentration. So he can do it roughly once in a while, but it takes him a while to get it together. And Welf is currently fighting, and Belle sees this and is like, oh crap. So he brings out the whip arm. And he puts his hand, or puts the whip kind of in a fine point and whips it out. The tendril wraps around the dragon's head, and the unicorn shit that he got on his hand, he pulled and it singed so fast that it cuts the dragon's head off. And if anybody's seen how to be an adventurer, you'll understand the unicorn shit. Okay, so we go to the next day, and Belle, Lili, and Welf all go down to the middle floors. And they have I think it was called a parade party, or party parade. One of the, it's called something parade. They get paraded by, and all the monsters fight on them, or start fighting them, and Belle is using claws. And he's easily slashing things up because he has increased speed. And that's when the floor collapses. And Lili says, the only one who could actually make it out of here is Belle. And Belle asks why, and she goes, you have your claws, we don't. So the best chance of all of us surviving is if we go down to the floor 18 safe zone. And Belle's like, wait, we have safe zones? And they go, yeah. So let's go. And so they start going. And Belle's not tired when he gets to the floor 18, because every time he absorbs a monster with his blacklight, he gains the energy of that monster. And lifespan. You see where I'm going with this? So he's getting down there, and he sees the boss for floor 18, or floor 17. And he's like, huh, you're pretty big. So he activates his armor. And he leaves Lili and Welf in the slide area where the boss can't hit them. And he thinks, this is going to be fun. So he pulls some Attack on Titan shit with some ODM gear and starts flying around like a like he's Spider-Man and Batman combined. So, so he cuts the nape of the neck of the Titan, and the Titan yells in pain. And he sees this, and he starts chipping away at the nape of the neck. And he finally gets to the point where he can cut right through it. Right through the rest of the neck. So he pulls out the great sword and completely cuts the head of the monster off. The head starts to regrow. But he saw the top of the crystal. So he started going as fast as freaking possible to jump. And he went straight down on the crystal with the greatsword. And it cut the crystal clean in half, breaking the outer shell of the crystal, which kills the monster, and leaving the crystal on the floor. Now, that means that the Floor 17 boss is dead. Whenever it dies, it leaves a massive roar in Floor 18. And so he picks up Lili and Welf and falls down the chute for Floor 18. And he's a little tired because the boss just made him do a lot of work. So he passes out like, hey, hi. And he passes out. So Eyes is curious on what happened. So she waits by his bedside, and Lili wakes up first. Not Belle. Lili wakes up, sees Eyes, and sees her looking over Belle's shoulder, waiting for him to wake up. And she asks, what the hell is she doing to Master Belle? And Lili still calls him Master Belle. And Eyes goes, I'm waiting to get an explanation on what happened with the boss. And she goes, what boss? Where are we? And she goes, oh, you're on floor 18. And Lili goes, what? What happened with the boss? And she goes, it let out a dying roar. And Lili goes, wait, what? And she goes, yeah, it let out a dying roar, and I was wondering if Belle was the one who did it. And Eyes is looking a little hopeful that Belle is the strong one who just defeated the boss at a level 2. And Lili goes, I know he's strong, but he's not that strong, is he? And she's getting skeptical, and that was a lot of fun. I'm going to end it off here. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. So I've watched all the way through season 2. I have watched a little of season 3, but I did not like it as much as season 1 and 2. So I'm going to go all the way up to the end of the War Games arc. And the Freya arc. Attack on the thing. So, hopefully you guys enjoyed. Talk to you guys later.